Welcome back, horror lovers. Today, we'll be exploring the legend of a mother who had a heart attack while breastfeeding her child. They were going to spend the week alone and weren't expecting any visitors. The little one noticed how the spirit of his mother abandoned her body, and he kept on crying and crying until he finally starved to death. They discovered the bodies after one of the neighbors suspected something was wrong after hearing the child crying for so long. However, even though he knocked down the door, it was too late. The mother and her child were both dead. However, the neighbor then affirmed that he could still hear the child's crying from time to time. Years later, a new family moved into that very house. They also had a baby and moved because their previous home was too small for the three of them and because they would be living closer to their respective workplaces. They decided that they would place a crib in the living room so they could always have their son inside during the day. And at night, they would leave their bedroom door open so they could hear him better and see him as soon as they got out of the room. And effectively, the baby's crying woke them up in the middle of the night. However, when they looked at the crib from the door, they saw how something was moving next to the little one. They immediately turned on the lights. That strange figure disappeared, and when they went to see the baby, they saw he was actually asleep. Both the mom and the dad were sure that what they saw wasn't an illusion. The two of them described exactly the same shadow. But if their son wasn't the one crying, who was? This event got them both very worried, and they decided to move the crib to their bedroom. The next day, the mom went out to buy groceries, and when she got back, she bumped into one of her neighbors. He asked her if she was the owner of the house on the second floor, and when she confirmed that she was, he told her that years before he found the corpses of a family in that very house. He said that he broke in after hearing a baby crying for many hours, even though he had already died. The baby was named Lucas. Scared, the mom told the neighbor about the incident from the night before. The neighbor put his hand on her shoulder and solemnly said, "I know. I've been hearing his crying for years, making me restless and unable to sleep. I am sure that's the spirit of the baby who died and who's still trapped within those walls." The hours passed by and the time to go to bed came once more. And just like the night before, the mom and the dad were both woken up by a baby crying. She knew that was not her baby, so she gulped and asked, "Lucas, are you there?" Then an ominous silence invaded the room, but she could now distinguish the figure from the night before, now standing in front of her. She then turned on the lights, but the figure didn't disappear. It had its arm up, brandishing a knife, clearly intending to kill the baby. Lucas had grown up. He had the stature of a 9-year-old boy, which would be his age if he was still alive. However, his face was white and smooth like porcelain, and his eye sockets were empty. The mom got up, carefully approached Lucas and hugged him. He broke into tears once more and started melting in the arms of the mom after feeling one final time the tender warmness of a mother's hug. And once he had completely vanished, the mom looked at her pajamas. They had blood stains, likely coming from Lucas' tears of pain and despair. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it. And if you want to see more Draw My Life horror videos, subscribe to our channel. See you in the next episode.